And
Mhm.
every Sunday, I feel like such a lazy piece of crap. And I end up like doing a whole bunch of shit. Like I was messaging you last night about, I was getting that whole stream thing taken care of, like,
Yeah.
and like doing like the memberships for YouTube and like all this shit, right? Like, so I end up doing like a whole bunch of stuff yesterday. And now today, I'm like, I don't want to do anything. And I'm like, but I have stuff I have to do today. Like, where was that attitude yesterday, you know? I don't know.
I have Sundays like that too. I'm like, I'm gonna do absolutely today, but let me first fix the shop. Let me first
Yeah,
mop. Let me first record this. Let
exactly.
me there's something on Discord I want to participate in. Let me do that. Let me watch this, and then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, why? I've done
I didn't.
nothing for myself.
I know. That's that's what happened to me
it's,
yesterday.
it's the worst. But it just shows, yeah, it's obviously got the bug. Hello, everyone. Okay, oh gosh, people have already joined. Um, Hello on YouTube land. Hello to those on YouTube, and hello to everyone with us today. We have our a KP with us and a Reha with us, and we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic today. But first of all, I just wanted to quickly very cover. Are you ready for your 24-hour stream this Saturday?
Oh my gosh. It's no. I I like I am and I'm not. Like I have a lot of anxiety about it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I know it's going to be great and I know it's going to be fun,
Mm.
but the I feel like it's one of those things where like like as streamers you guys will know like the minutes before you push the go live button, you're just kind of like, oh, what am I doing? I like this is ridiculous. Nobody's gonna watch me, and then you push it and then you're fine. So I know as soon as I go live, it'll be fine. But I have a lot of anxiety surrounding the stream on Saturday.
I can
I'm sure
imagine.
it'll be fine.
It's like it's only going to be 24 hours of a stream.
Yeah, it's just 24 hours live. No big deal.
No, nothing. It's like it's just other people have tried it and done it and it's worked. But again, I would love to see what you look like at the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yeah, we'll do a before and after
Yes.
comparison.
If you
Yeah,
just
we are going to have a video specifically for the live where we're going to show how it started versus how it's going because it will be my year streaming on Twitch, which is it's come a long way. So
Oh really? Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Rayhan knows.
Um, but I just wanted to ask, you want to quickly cover a little bit again who you'll be. First of all, we will be able to donate to this establishment, and do you want to just give a quick breakdown again of who we're supporting on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean it's a good segue too into what we're talking about today for the AMA, right?
Yes.
But so we are supporting the Alaka Alliance. And the Alaka Alliance actually approached me because they heard about this awesome community and what we did for the Monterey Bay, which was ridiculous. It was
Mm.
over $10,000 or whatever it ended up being. And so we are going to be supporting this organization that is a group of indigenous leaders who are geared towards the reintroduction of sea otters off of the Oregon coast. So it's kind of like twofold. It hits a lot of what this community is all about, which is sea otters for the most part, and
Yes.
marine conservation and those types of things. But it also, I think, really neatly ties in the indigenous people, which is something that I think everybody, for unfortunate reasons, has really become at the forefront of everybody's mind lately, and rightly
Yes,
should be. And
yes,
so,
absolutely.
so we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking with them, as a matter of fact, too. Some of them will be on
Oh,
for a
nice.
portion of the stream. Um, and yeah, so that's the idea. They want to reintroduce sea otters off the Oregon coast, and that's because that was part of their historical range, and because, as we know, sea otters are crucial,
Keystone
keystone
species.
species in their
Yes.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. that's the organization. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about it as we
Absolutely,
continue
yeah.
on with this stream because that's what it's all about.
But yeah,
Reintroduction of sea otters.
but today, obviously, folks, we're going to be talking about something that we haven't really covered, and it is a very, very deep topic about poaching. And then, yes, then we're going to be talking a little bit to KP about the reintroduction part of the mammals and that. But yeah, so guys, if you have any questions, we're talking about the fur trade, we're talking about poaching, please put it in the comments below right now. Raya, maybe we'll hand it off to you for the questions that were asked, and then we'll take it from there. If not, I'm going to shoot away as well because I have a lot of questions as well. So let's go.
I'm sorry, I literally misheard you and I heard the reintroduction of bananas. I don't know why.
Reintroduction
Did I
of
say-
bananas to the Oregon
I
coast
care about my
is
fake
really gonna
species.
up our smoothie game.
Yes.
And
We need Bob Banana, Bill Banana, every banana. The reintroduction
mean-
about mammals, not bananas. there's already too many of bananas in the world, okay? Oh gosh. Okay, yeah, of mammals. Mammals, sorry. But maybe we go for that first question there, and then yeah, we'll take it from there.
So, our first question is we only actually had two, but are the punishments for poaching anywhere severe enough?
So I guess this sort of depends. And this ties almost immediately into our discussions about the indigenous people, because there are special, like, sort of clearances. I don't know if they're like licenses, but the indigenous people do have the right to hunt sea otters, beluga whales, walruses, all of those types of animals, because they're sustenance hunts, and they use every part of the animal. And there's actually a lot that we can learn about sustainable living and stuff like that because of what like how the indigenous people do these types of things. But as far as, like, if you're talking about like absolutely illegal,
Yeah,
fishermen that are just like shooting animals off the side of boats, which it does happen, unfortunately, and we've got several animals at the aquarium that were injured by by gunshot wounds. So if we're just talking about that, then no, I guess I don't. The problem is that it's not so much. Actually, I think the punishments are quite severe. But what's really sort of lacking, I feel, is the ability to actually find these people.
Yeah.
The ocean is a large place, and patrolling the ocean is not an easy thing to do. It's very easy to be off and by yourself, and for people, fishermen or whatever, to look around and go, oh, there's nobody here, I can just go ahead and shoot this animal. No one will ever find out. I mean, so that's sort of the problem. It's a logistical issue, and I don't know how we solve that problem. So it's not necessarily like the punishment. I feel like the punishments are quite severe. I believe you face years in prison, as well as
Very hefty
huge
fines.
fines. Yeah, depending on the species, but yeah. So I think the punishments are quite severe. It's that it's very easy to get away with that, I think, is part of the problem.
Yes, because I mean, operating at nights and things like that. It's not something random. These are people that obviously are doing this. I don't want to use the word professionally because it's not a profession. They're more like pirates, if I can say that. But they're not just casual poachers, if I'm correct. These are the type of people that are illegally doing this consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's not a huge market for like what you would call like traditional poaching or something like that. So because you cannot like sell like just say like a sea otter pelt, if you like rolled up to
A market.
you know, whatever, we're like here, they'd be like absolutely not, because it is illegal to own any part of a sea otter or of any marine mammal unless you have
Yeah.
the proper permitting. So it's not really like it's more that people are just killing them. They're not necessarily like keeping
Oh,
parts of them
they
or
just want to
or
destroy them, basically.
yes, it's usually fishermen that are, you know, that are concerned that these guys are stealing, you know, parts of their you know, of their livelihood. And that sea otters are, you know, bad for business basically. And it's not just sea otters either, you know. We talk about um seals and sea lions. Those guys are all unfortunate victims of this as well. So yeah, but it's not really like poaching in the true sense of the word, because nobody
It's
can actually
basically
use
destroying.
that. Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
how recent was? Because I don't know if it was like the 60s or 70s. Is it not recent that banning of poaching for sea otter furs and things like that?
Well,
This feels pretty recent.
yeah, I mean the fur seal treaty, which is what kind of initiated um the whole, you know, protecting sea otters as a species, that happened in 1911. So, and that
Mm.
was actually like sort of pre dating the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which protects all of the you know, mammals.
Mm.
So, in 1911, I mean, 100 years, but it's yeah, it's hard to like, you know, putting that into practice. And like I said, you know, people can do whatever they want. It's an open ocean and there's nobody to make the rules
Yes.
for them. Um so yeah, it's also sea otters are now, you know, I feel like it was maybe a little bit easier to see why you should protect sea otters when there were none left, when they had essentially been hunted to extinction.
Yeah.
And now in some areas they're becoming quite prevalent, in areas that they haven't been for over 100 years. So I think people too sometimes have a hard time seeing that is a species that you know, that needs protection when they're like, look how many there are, you know.
Yes. It's
It's
hard to
hard to have
say.
that
Yeah.
bigger picture. You know, it's also like, this is kind of a bigger, this is something I actually think about when I think about you know, a lot of like the poaching and stuff that happens in Africa. And I know that you're in South Africa, you're not like, you know, in you know, some of the areas where a lot of this is going
Mm.
on, um but like you have to change, like you can't just tell people they can't do something that their livelihood depends on. Well, you
Yeah.
need to provide them with something else that they can do, you know what I mean?
Something else
So
to sustain their
um
livelihood or feed them.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, and maybe that's getting like really
Mm.
off track, but anyway, that's something that I think about a lot when I think about this kind of stuff. Like, you know, you're telling fishermen that they can't kill sea otters or sea lions, and sea otters and sea lions are like destroying their nets and,
Yes.
you know,
But it is.
causing a lot of problems for them. So you know, it's hard.
It's sort of that balance, and my view on this has always been a controversial one that has always been, and I actually spoke to Ray just now, always been a little bit controversial, as I said. Like you say in Africa, but we had a very big problem in the Kruger Park where elephants were being hunted and so on. And I think there's a very big difference between the poaching where that stuff was actually getting sold to overseas in mass amounts. And funny enough, a lot of the
Right.
poachers that got caught got turned to be protectors. And you find out that they were doing that just because they wanted to earn a living. And now they got amazing relationships with the animals. They say we actually like the animals, but it was the only way we could earn something. But in the same time, it's
Yeah.
like there's a difference between the hunting where I'll even use as an example, indigenous people who use all the parts for everything.
Hmm.
And then you get this corporate sort of thing when people are overfishing in that and using that specifically for money. And my thing, money is always a third world thing. And I think, to me, and I could be wrong, the biggest threat to fishermen locally is the bigger corporations of fish. It's not the animals. It's the bigger corporations. If we controlled those corporations that are mass fishing, I think the local people would have a lot more resources, and they wouldn't see these animals that naturally live there as being a threat. But that's not including where animals have been reintroduced, like you've mentioned in the video, reintroduced where people didn't know or didn't get their permission, were caught unaware. That's still a man-made thing that happened. It's not like the otter swam up there and thought, hey, we're gonna live here now.
Yeah, well, I
different...
mean, what happened off the west coast of Vancouver Island with the sea otters was that you should watch my YouTube video because there was a lot that happened. There was an atomic explosion. There was a number of crazy things that went on. But essentially, the government of Canada, in combination with the U.S. government, relocated like 100 or so individual otters to the west coast of Vancouver Island, and they didn't consult with the indigenous people. And I feel like this is actually like but now we're getting like way off track, because I feel like this is like a life theme. Like, communication is simultaneously like the easiest but also like the biggest cause of problems. Like, just communicate. So they were not consulted, and they were not given any say in the matter. And I feel like if they had been, things would have felt differently. But the reason that they were so upset is because at the time, abalone and sea urchins were a huge part of their industry, and where they were making their money. And so the reintroduction of sea otters for them was not a very good thing, because that's what sea otters love to eat. So it's just communication. And then also, if you're going to be like we shouldn't be making decisions like for like these people like that. It's literally like, we're gonna put these sea otters on the west coast of Vancouver Island, where literally no one else lives except for the indigenous people. Best of luck. Have a great day. Not super respectful. So that was kind of the issue there. And if you're going to be doing something like that, maybe you need to provide these people with a different means of
income or something.
I mean, sea otter, you could maybe like give them, I'm just spitballing here, but like a sea otter tourism, like set them up with like some boats and some regulations and I don't know, something like that. But so
it's in a similar factor. What if the sea otter introduction, I mean, let me put it this way. Were sea otters at one point native to the BC coast?
Yeah, they were native to the entire west coast, from California all the way up to Alaska. You would not be able to go anywhere without seeing a sea otter at one point in time. So they were. It is a reintroduction. It's certainly not a like an invasive species introduction. But yeah, I mean, like, that was 100 years ago, and or more than 100 years ago, really. And so it's again, I feel like it just boils down to communication. Like, had they did studies, and there are links to that in on my YouTube videos and in my descriptions for sources and stuff like that. But there were studies that showed that communities that were consulted had like a higher percentage of buy-in. They were totally okay with reintroducing sea otters just because they were consulted. They didn't even necessarily have to have their opinions. Yeah, they didn't even have to have their opinions like used or anything like that. They just because they were talked to about it, they were more on board with it than people who just had sea otters just dropped out of a plane into the water, and all of a sudden that's your life now. So yeah, I mean, it's just communication. It was probably, again, old white men were in charge of this almost undoubtedly, and that's the problem.
Which is something that is covered a little bit in an article we might do later. But Um, but you know, I always thought in these sort of aspects of reintroduction, maybe something that's we'll cover a little bit later, but it's just a pin to put on it is like how much investigation is done in sort of an environmental, cultural, and economic way that this is sustainable. Because it seems like the only thing that was judged here is has the otter lived here before? Is it environmentally sound to reintroduce them? And they're not actually seeing what impact it would help or it would have on the culture around it. It's like, or the people, or the indigenous people around it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the recurring theme of you know,
Everything.
yeah, especially of the history of North America is just not caring about indigenous people or really thinking about them at all.
Yes.
You know, really not considering them, their opinions or anything important in any way. So just like absolutely not considering them. So yeah, I mean, like it's hopefully that's something that's changing, and that's something that's you know, really nice about the charity that we're going to be supporting is
Yes.
that that's a huge part of what they're doing is making sure that the indigenous people are not only consulted but are a huge part, like that their most of their board is made up of indigenous leaders.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, consulting indigenous peoples and then experts and you know, then the rest of the community in the Oregon coast. So you know, just talking and having conversations and educating people on the importance of sea otters. And so yeah, so I that's, you know, part of the reason why I am so supportive of this organization, not only working to reintroduce sea otters, but doing it in the right way, I think.
In a responsible way. That's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem, again, I mentioned the word corporate, but it doesn't seem like this corporate sort of almost like PR maneuver for the sake of doing it. Because I mean, without consulting people. But it brings up the conversation we were having about the one article we looked at earlier. Is that I feel this hurts the animals too, because now and on the one article we're looking at, the otters are now labeled as an invasive species when in fact it's not their fault they're there, and they're technically not an invasive species in terms of them being introduced from a place they've never been before. But from an economic standpoint, now the otters look like the bad elements. And do we feel that that would increase poaching in that regard, or because
Well, I mean, that's again, that's just that's a matter of communication. I mean, they're not necessarily well, they're not at all considered an invasive species, but some people could say that. I guess you could say those words, but that's, you know, invasive species is a
yeah,
designation based in science. It doesn't have
yes,
anything to do with just what your opinions are, you know, or how you feel about sea otters. So yeah, I mean, again, that just goes down to having conversations and educating people and you know, communication. If you just go and drop sea otters in there, then like some people are not going to understand the history, and the history surrounding sea otters is so important and deeply tied to the indigenous people.
absolutely.
So I feel like just a basic understanding of that history really changes opinions about sea otters in general, and about how we feel about them.
Because there's a lot of
You know, there's always going to be some people that are, you know, you can't ever make everybody happy. So, you
yeah.
know, anybody who does make a living off of sea urchins is going to be against this, and that's, you know, that it is, you know, what it is. Um but yeah, I mean, it's, you know, for the greater good of the environment, sea otters
Yeah.
are a very positive force. So
But as you mentioned, communication, because I mean, even as an educated person that's been through high school like myself, and that I had no idea how things like nuclear bombs and everything that appeared in the video had such an
yeah.
impact in reintroduction. We don't know these things, and we can't expect people to know this when you're
Yeah.
doing something. And as you said,
Well,
communication is so
yeah. So
important.
for anybody who didn't watch the video and it just keeps hearing us mention atomic explosions, um, there was, I'll just give you the quick backstory. But you really should go watch
Yeah, this is far
our
more
video.
depth.
But yeah. So basically, what happened was the sea otters had been hunted to near extinction, and there was just a small population scattered here and there, and certainly missing in very large portions of their range. And then the U.S. Government, the Navy, decided to do nuclear bomb testing, the largest nuclear bomb testing in their history, on an island called Chitka in the Aleutian Islands, in a national wildlife preserve that was home to hundreds of sea otters. Hundreds of extremely endangered sea otters.
And they basically detonated a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, so which is really interesting, because in a way this did actually sort of this is like so historically important, because it basically scientists were like, ah, no. So they ran up there and captured as many sea otters as they could, and then relocated them to Washington, Oregon, and off the coast of BC. And so without that nuclear bomb testing, who knows if there even would have been reintroduction of sea otters. So even though obviously I don't think that we should be nuking wildlife preserves, and I still stand very strongly against that, it did actually in some ways really escalate the reintroduction of the species. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, so so that's what we're talking about when we say that. And in case you were wondering, I know it's a little. I was trying not to be clickbaity with the video, but I felt like I followed through with it, and it did actually happen in the video. So
by the way, I was just about to mention that, but in a way, I was gonna post the link now and give out the title like how a nuclear bomb, and I said it's not clickbaity. It's not that clickbaity.
It's not. There's an actual part of the video.
It's not like some of the people do how nuclear, and then it says, and things went nuclear, and artists were introduced. I'm like, that's not what you wrote in your title.
Yeah.
So I've just put the link down, guys. Save it for later, because it is a very interesting thing, and it relates to what we're talking about now. And I feel it's also going to relate to what you're doing this weekend. So it's a very important thing. But it is one of those things that's like, well, if there was no World War II, we wouldn't have the internet. And it's like,
yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, there's always going to be positive things that come out of horrible things. But
it's good that
but yeah, so in a sense, we owe the current populations of sea otters in Washington and BC to nuclear testing in wildlife preserve in Alaska.
And they say that the U.S. Navy didn't do anything. Salute. Oh, but moving on from that, but guys, watch that video afterwards, please. It's very, very interesting. And yes, it looks clickbaity, but it's not. But I went like, when I saw that, I was like, by the way, KP, I didn't even know it was your video at first.
You were like, what are these people doing?
Because I go through so many history videos where they say, you won't believe this fact, you won't believe this, and like how a nuclear bomb did it, and I was like, what the? And I was like, wait a minute, this is KP.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, this is no video.
Nybor here is asking, how do they determine which individual otters are relocated? Nybor, are you talking about like for what the Alaka Alliance would be doing?
In general.
Or are you talking about during the nuclear explosion situation off Chitka? Because I think that they didn't really think too much, and they just grabbed as many sea otters as possible, and then we're just like, disperse! I don't think that there was a lot of planning that went on there.
That was a panic situation.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. Although the sea otters off the coast of Alaska are northern sea otters, which are different from southern sea otters, which live in California. Typically, that's the line. I don't know if they can interbreed or not. I believe they can. So there's also a possibility that there's some mixing, and that maybe there isn't even a true southern sea otter in some areas, maybe. But yeah, in today's process of like what they would be doing, they would be taking northern sea otters, I believe, and I think that they're probably going to be taking them from parts of Alaska. As far as like, do they keep families intact? There are not families. Oh, my light just died.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
my little like face light. Oh, there it is. It's back. We're good. So
I'm taking a break. Poof.
yeah, I know. It was like I need a timeout. There aren't like sea otters don't have families per se, right? So there are mothers and pups. I'm certain that they would not be separating young mothers and pups. Obviously, that's not good practice. But once the pups are about 6 months old, they take off from mom and they probably never see her again. So there's not really like sea otters out in the ocean don't have like bonded relationships with each other. You That's another difference between the sea otters that I work with, which, you know, are here that we're watching on screen. I think they do have relationships with each other because they're in an unnatural situation. And I don't mean unnatural as to be like a bad word, you know, it's a different situation. It's a situation based on, you know, what we have and what we have to offer them. But I also don't think that like when our sea otters are separated for like long periods of time, they don't like show any signs of like missing each other or anything like that, except for cat mom, of course. But that's also a different situation. So yeah, it wouldn't be necessarily a concern to think about like keeping groups of sea otters together because you know, again, they're not really like bonded, these animals. And in fact, it might be a good idea to grab sea otters from different areas so that you're getting a really genetically diverse sort of grouping of animals to help with the health of a population. So yeah, I'm not really sure exactly if they even have a full-blown plan, if Alaka Alliance even has like a really put together collection plan for these guys, but it is something that we can ask about on Saturday because we'll have about a 2-hour period where we are going to be talking to the board members and a variety of different people from the Alaka Alliance. So that could be something that we can talk about.
It's just a lot of people in the chat and that will actually remember the day of that bomb, and it's like
yes,
the
yes, I had
amazing-
several.
Yeah, the amazing thing behind it. It's eerie almost.
Yeah, I had several comments about it and you know about um that they marched in a protest
Yes.
about it and stuff like that, which is really interesting because it is something that I didn't really know um I didn't really know beforehand either. I knew that they were relocated, but I had zero idea that the reason was because of nuclear testing. So
Yes, and it just to like, you know, they say when a butterfly flaps its wing in Asia, it causes a hurricane in America type thing. But it's almost this sort of thing like what happened then. All of a sudden, all these years later, we're sitting here talking about otters, knowing Joey and things like that. That it could have been anything from those otters that got dispersed, and like throw them like, go, you go there, you go there, you go there. It's just yes, how history connects to itself. But again, go watch the video and be even more like, what? How something that happened so many years ago has impacted us in such a way that we're talking about it today. I'm talking about the otters. But yeah,
super interesting.
Rhea in the background who has
who's just like lurking because we don't give her a chance to speak as usual.
Is there anything?
I finished my breakfast. Yes.
Oh, nice.
She's like on the side, they're training a dog, reading a book. Like, is there any?
Well, I did mute myself because Ikaika was getting emotional about the guinea pigs chasing each other.
Of course, Alkaka the
he has
wonder
feelings.
Dog. He does.
He has feelings.
He has big feels. So that dog needs its own show. But you said there were 2 questions, so you got another one on that list.
So our second question is, if you see someone wearing fur, would you be justified in showing your disgust?
So, this is an interesting question. It's not like super tied to what we're talking about, but I don't know. I don't first of all, how are you to know whether or not it's real or not? Like I have a jacket that has like a what looks like a fur lined thing. It's obviously not real fur. So like I don't know. I just feel like this is kind of a funny thing. Like you don't have any idea what what you're looking at per se, and who are you to sort of judge, and you know uh yeah, there's just so many factors that go into. Also, what are you hoping to gain by showing your disgust to somebody? Like,
Yeah.
what's the goal, like, if the goal is to have them not to have people not want to wear fur, um then I feel like there are much more productive ways to accomplish this.
Yes.
I don't think that showing your disgust is going to do anything
And I
towards your goal. So
I highly
it's
doubt that person's gonna rip off that jacket and be like, "You're right." They probably made
yeah,
the decision to make that. They knew what they were doing. So
yeah, yeah. So it's not really like I don't know. It's the same with like I get so many comments on my social media posts about like, you should set the otters free, you're a disgusting human being, and stuff like that, and then I'll like calmly explain why that's like garbage.
yeah,
And then the people are like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for. So I don't understand this knee-jerk reaction to like to comment or to express opinions about like my gut reaction in any kind of situation is to ask questions, right? So like, I don't know, if you find yourself like in a situation where you're meeting some new people and this person's like, look at my luxurious fur coat, it's real or whatever, and your first thing is like, oh my god, that's horrible, disgusting, blah 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 blah. Well, that's like, first of all, you haven't asked any questions. Maybe this person, what if this person is like part of, an indigenous population, and this is like an heirloom item, and they used every part of the animal, and like, you don't know, you can't speak to what happened in this person's life. So but then maybe if you find out that it is, obtained in a unethical way or something like that, then you can calmly be like, oh, think that maybe you should look into this and why this is a bad idea. I mean,
absolutely.
I feel like just like scowling at people is not going to sort of accomplish
It's gonna
anything.
get yourself more into trouble than anything else. You'd be the one inflicting on their rights to just exist in that time. So it's not worth the trouble.
Yeah, that's just it, right? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? Like, if your goal is to get rid of unethical fur, I think there are
Yeah.
far better ways to accomplish this than just to walk around glaring at people who are
Just
wearing
staring at
it.
them, it's like, excuse me.
I don't know.
And as you say, you never know if it's fake or not. And I feel in this day and age, most people have made the conscious choice, especially with the new generation. They're making better choices in terms of the environment, that they would most likely not be wearing real fur most of the time. But it's still not worth a gamble. But as you've said earlier on, if anything we've learned, or I've learned in the past year, even being heavily involved in social media, I've been doing this for about 7 years now, but anything I've learned, lack of communication and high emotion are a bad combination if you combine them at once. So never let your emotions get the better of you.
And again, we come back full circle to communication. Communication is key.
So many things could have been resolved if someone just said, hey, look. It is communication. Yeah. And I feel we don't even, everyone has a touch of exactly why communication is so important. But we're reaching a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there are instances where you should, like, where you can try to, especially if you have a well-educated. The other thing is, how educated are you on the fur industry? Like, I actually probably wouldn't comment on it at all. I don't consider myself any kind of like expert. Like if you're going to try to educate people on something, then you should be an expert at it, right?
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
and have answers. So if that's your goal, then I think you know, studying up on that and you know, looking at potential you know, alternatives and you know,
And
really
maybe that fur coat was actually legitimate in its way it was produced. It could have been, as you mentioned, about the indigenous people who are allowed to hunt it and use the fur, and you don't know, and you think, oh, you did that illegally. You don't know. It's like criticizing a book you've never read.
yeah, so it's just you know, it's an interesting. I'm actually reading some books about communication right now, so I'm like a little like high on my communication horse right now, but yeah, I mean, it's like, what are your goals? You can scowl at people if you want. I don't really care. I just don't think that it's productive in any sort of way,
Yeah,
but
and
you
as
know.
you said, especially if it's devoid of the knowledge of of the topic in hand,
Yeah.
it's very dangerous to do. But yeah,
Anyway.
it's something very important in everyone. If anything you've learned about today is that nuclear bombs were responsible for otters being relocated. No, go watch the video. This is what you're talking about. Go watch the video, and
Yeah.
communication is important. But
But
maybe
it's an interesting question, but yeah.
yeah, it's not something. I feel there are, as you mentioned, there are other better ways to combat that in legitimate
Yeah.
channels and proper ways, and actions you take yourself towards conservation. Than screaming at someone on the bus who's just finished work and is wearing a fur coat that is probably fake, and he's like, "Dude, I really
Yeah,
don't need
well,
your
I mean,
stuff today."
especially when it comes to sea otters. Like
Yes,
you're really not going to see anybody wearing a sea otter fur coat unless it's a indigenous people.
yes,
Because again, it is completely illegal for anybody except for indigenous people and other scientific permits to own sea otter pelts. So the you know, the fur question is a little bit
mm.
you
But
know,
as it's
slightly off
you're
topic, but
about to go
but
shut an
we are
indigenous
talking about
person.
the fur trade, but specifically as it pertains to sea otters
Yes,
and northern fur seals and the fur seal treaty and stuff like that.
but that's as
But yeah, I mean,
important.
like, to kind of full circle bring it around, like, so hopefully you know, reintroduction of sea otters um are, you know, something that that we can look forward to. Like, I'd love to see, as part of our charity, like, to actually be able to um to see it happen, like, you know, something that could happen in the very near future. And they've been doing feasibility studies and stuff
Mm.
like that, so so hopefully our donations are going to, you know, really sort of kickstart that.
Yes. In fact, we have a question here. I just wanted to quickly jump on, and you can either answer it here,
Yeah.
maybe you can leave it for the weekend. It's on reintroduction of mammals. Are there any other major programs that you are aware of in the US or Canada?
As for like for other animals.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's fitting the mammals, but maybe if you even just know about the otters and that. But the main thing has covered mammals. But if there's any major programs you're aware of in terms of reintroduction. Well, we know one. We know one at least. It's going to happen on Saturday, guys.
Yeah. Any other? I mean, there was we almost did a video on it, but we ended up sort of just glossing over it. But this is not a current endeavor, but there was a time when the U.S. government was going to introduce hippos into river systems in North America.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, double knows a little bit more about it than I do.
This is
So yeah, but there have been like lots of sort of ridiculous ideas that that people have thought up and thought to do, but I think now there's a pretty good understanding that you know, reintroduction of a species that this is part of their historical range is a little bit different than taking African hippos
no,
and
they're
putting
very
them
dangerous. They are very
in Colorado.
They
Yeah.
kill more people in Africa than any other animal in the
Yeah.
continent. They're more dangerous than crocodiles, than sharks.
Hippos are terrifying.
I've been very close to a hippo, and I can completely understand why you would not want to be anywhere near an angry hippo. And that's a thing. To To the point that if
Yeah.
you're going down a river, they'll say you're not allowed there or you will not be coming back in any form. So, have they not learned from the African bee introduced in America? That was a problem.
Right, Sparky, I hope that's a joke. No, hippos were never native to the Mississippi River. No,
The African
no,
hippo.
hippos are native to Africa and only Africa. There are some in Colombia because who was that like big like gang leader, mafia guy?
Oh.
I forget his name.
Are you
But anyway,
serious?
he like started a zoo basically in his like giant mansion, and now it's abandoned and there are just hippos everywhere because they just bred like crazy, and now they live in like Colombia. Pablo Escobar, thank you.
Oh, Pablo
Thank you,
Escobar.
the Daily Clear.
Jeez, when
Pablo
you said gang
Escobar.
member, I didn't think you were going to say Pablo Escobar. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Pablo Escobar. He's like responsible for the invasive hippopotamus population in Colombia.
Very good. Motherphone said El Chapo. Very close, but not.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That...
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty crazy. So that's not really like a sanctioned reintroduction
Definitely
effort.
not,
But
especially if it's on his
yeah.
heels.
You know, I know a good one. Black-footed ferrets.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
this is an ongoing thing, but a while back, they actually introduced black-footed ferrets into Colorado, and that population is now growing. They were part of the historical species that used to live around there, and they were basically extinct in the area. And there's like black-footed ferret conservation organizations that actually breed them under human care and then reintroduce them in certain areas. So that's kind of cool,
Yeah.
especially because I like ferrets.
Of course.
So, but yeah.
But I think we talk about.
I've actually
Carry on. Sorry.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say that I've actually uh my dad is very passionate about black-footed ferrets, and I've actually from this this site adopted a ferret, and they send you like a little stuffy, and I gave it to him, and then he like loves them. He's got like 2 black-footed ferret stuffies, and they have names, and like he's very passionate
I'd
about
want a
it.
stuffy over certificate any day. Jeez,
Yeah.
that's so cute. But I was going to say, I think the reintroduction that's important and what we were covering is the proper non-commercialized for immoral purposes type of introduction, like you're going to cover this weekend. So maybe just to end off is just to recap on the reintroduction of the mammals and what you'll be covering over this weekend and why it's so important as well, more than just releasing otters into the sea.
Yeah. So to sum up,
Yes.
I don't know if I can sum up like a lifetime of of
Base us
research
for
and
the
stuff like that.
weekend, basically. Base us.
Yeah, so sea otters have been basically hunted to extinction during the fur trade in many areas. So they used to range all the way from California all the way around Alaska, across to Russia, even in parts of Japan. And they were hunted very extensively. Their fur coats are very luxurious. They are completely waterproof. It's the densest fur coat in the animal kingdom. So at one point, sea otter pelts were worth far more than their weight in gold. That was, towards the end of the fur trade when there weren't a lot of them left. And this is closely tied to the oppression of the indigenous people, because while this was all going on, people from Russia and various different areas were enslaving certain indigenous people and forcing them to hunt sea otters. It's a long story, but a lot of like really awful, evil things rooted in the fur trade. So, sea otters were hunted to extinction in certain areas, left to only scattered populations in Alaska and various different other, areas. And then the Fur Seal Treaty happened, which is basically what we owe to stopping this whole thing, making them a protected species. It's called the Fur Seal Treaty because fur seals were also heavily hunted during this time. And then that eventually became the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So now you're not allowed to hunt, kill, harass, or own parts of protected species. But yeah, the reintroduction efforts of these guys to bring them back to various different areas is not just because sea otters are cute and we want to have them here. It's because they are a keystone species and super important for the environment that they live in. They keep sea urchin populations under control, which allows really healthy kelp forests to grow, and those are home to enormous biodiverse populations of, fish further up, seals, dolphins, all of these things. It's all connected. So that's the idea behind reintroducing sea otters to areas is bringing back healthy kelp forests and healthy environments. And that's what we're going to be supporting Saturday. Oh my gosh. How many days away is that? 5?
Not far. You're gonna fall asleep tonight and wake up and it's Saturday and you're like, oh, I'm gonna
Help me. So we're doing a 24-hour stream for the Alaka Alliance, who are working with indigenous leaders to reintroduce sea otters off the coast of Oregon. Off the coast of Oregon, interestingly enough, like they did actually reintroduce a number of individuals. 80, I think, or so individuals were, due to the atomic testing in Amchitka, were actually released off the coast of Oregon, and they just sort of disappeared. And nobody really knows, like, where they were, where they went, if they died, which seems unlikely because they didn't really find, like, the bodies of these animals, or if they just moved away. So that's another of the interesting challenges that introducing sea otters off the coast of Oregon is going to have to face, is that there was a failed introduction in the past of, and we don't know why the animals didn't stay where they were. So yeah, I'm sure that's part of the research and things like that that's going into what the Alaka Alliance is doing.
Because just to round off very quickly, does reintroduction help from other forms of livelihoods, in the fact that you're saying it reintroduces fish, all these other things? Does it open up the door for other forms of livelihood for both local and indigenous people close by?
Yeah, it potentially does. I mean, there's so much biodiversity that's held in the kelp forests. Not to mention the amount of like sequestered carbon that stays in kelp. Has huge implications for combating climate change. But the issue is that there are some people who whose livelihoods really rely on the same food source that the sea otters would be using. So, but on a whole, yes, it is going to increase fish populations, increase biodiversity, and just a large amount of life, and hopefully actually increase the amount of fish that are available for people to use. But yeah, there would be, there's trade-offs. So there would be a decrease in sea urchin and abalone populations, because that's what sea otters like to eat.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that people will have to look at both sides of the fence and make the judgment. But I'm sure within 24 hours, it's a lot to cover and a lot to talk about on that day. And I am putting.
Well, good thing we have 24 hours to talk about it. So
everyone has the opportunity. But I am putting my money down that this is going to end up somewhere in a local article when the stream is over. I feel this will, like, less has happened on an article. If it doesn't, it'll be an injustice. But I'm putting my money down that it will happen. It'll happen. But I'm saving my money for the donations. So we've filled up a lot of time actually. This is one of those topics that could get more detailed, but again, 24 hours.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice because this is usually on the AMAs. I don't know what we're like. We're talking about octopus or jellyfish that I don't know anything about. But I know a lot about this, so this was good.
Yeah. So
it was mostly a TED Talk. Welcome to my TED Talk.
It was a TED Talk.
Thank you for coming.
And it was a very interesting TED Talk. It's one of those things we didn't rely on people's questions because you know what's going to happen, and it's so close to an event. So it was like. I also want to connect this to something else which you've mentioned earlier, and I think we should mention here that we are going to slow down on the amount of AMAs we're releasing. And I do feel we have to put a focus on the fact that we will be doing it live on KP's channel for Twitch. I think it's very important because she is a professional here. I'm just a face, so
It's also the whole
yeah, the partnership.
partner status
Yeah,
thing and
so-
the exclusivity on Twitch is
So
a
just
touchy
everyone-
issue.
Yeah, everyone knows is that Twitch has a policy that if obviously we want KP to make partner, but you're not allowed to stream on Twitch. Sorry, you exclusively only allowed to stream on Twitch. You're not allowed to stream anywhere else. Even if it's a third party like myself, you cannot stream the identical stream elsewhere. So means that I wouldn't be able to stream when KP does it because then it risks her losing her channel, and we don't want that because she's the most obviously influential person in this topic. So we will be doing everything on KP's side, and if I upload it later, that's another thing. But guys, if you don't have Twitch, please do yourself a favor. I've helped a lot of people get onto Twitch now. You have no excuse for this weekend. But yeah, and hopefully we'll be introducing topics that are a lot more interesting. So we're working on that. But yeah, so going forward, the AMAs, if we have them, will be live completely and exclusively on KP's channel. We're still going to promote the shit of it out on our side. And then afterwards, if there's a future upload on our side, it'll be a week later where you guys can go back in and view it as a podcast or anything like that. But yeah, it's a step we have to take. So I hope you guys will be happy for that. But I mean, you can play Stream Raiders on and these things are
True.
Yeah, exactly. Just imagine doing a stream. And I have a very important thing. But first, we're moving to a battle.
Yeah.
But also this weekend, guys, it's going to be a very, very fun time. Oh, I can't wait to see it. I won't lie.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to be watching it just for the research part of it. Like, how will KP do if you make...
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky, but I hope to see a bunch of people there, so should be fun.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of people there. Will you be doing something else besides just talking about the obviously to Oregon? Is there going to be other fun activities you'll be doing on the day?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be playing a lot of games. So there's gonna all the classics. There's gonna be scary games. There's gonna be Sloppiest Joe will be there. We'll be playing Fall Guys. We've got Stardew. We've got some Hades planned. So we're gonna be playing a lot of games, having a lot of fun. Imagine how strong all of our characters on Stream Raiders will be after 24 hours of Stream Raiders.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
We'll be doing a lot of things. So there will be a lot of talking about what we're raising money for, but for the most part, we're just gonna be hanging out playing games, guys.
And I'm just saying, it'll be a crime that if you're not doing something about the Oregon release and you don't play Oregon Trail. I'm just saying.
Oh, we're definitely playing Oregon Trail.
Great.
I think that Jess is going to be making an appearance on the stream, so we'll probably let her drive because that was crazy last time.
I can see you reading the book.
We'll explain the difference between colic and cholera. So it's going to be a really good time. It's going to be very entertaining, I'm sure. But you, of course, do not have to be there for the entirety of the stream, and however much time of yours I can have is appreciated. But yeah, so you also do not have to donate to be a part of it. Like, if you don't have the ability to donate, then please don't. But if you do, there are going to be amazing prizes and NFTs and actual things that you can win. JJ, have you seen this?
Wait.
The thing that Rachel is
I need to open up Twitch first to see.
Oh.
And then unfortunately
So,
everyone else will have to see
this
it on
is
the day.
This is a picture of Joey that Rachel drew. I commissioned this for the stream, so this is something that can be won by donating.
It was like, I want to see. You're going to have to see on Saturday. Because I only figured out recently that Rachel is one hell of an artist.
Yeah, she's incredible. So that's gonna, lots of things will be fun. But
that's awesome. So
yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure everyone will be awake at a certain time, considering you're doing this for 24 hours. I like to keep rubbing it in. So hopefully when I'm awake, you'll be playing Oregon Trail, because I can't wait to get some horrible foot disease, as I always do when I play, or I die. I would be the character that would die of colic. You can tell Jess, at least I'd be the character that would probably die of colic. Not cholera,
Yeah.
colic. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. We'll keep you
Yes.
updated on the... There we go, the link. We'll keep you updated on the AMAs and that, but if you haven't followed KP, you might as well do that now, because obviously that's where everything's going to happen in the future. And thank you so much for your time. This has been a very, very good time. So I will be doing more things on Mondays myself, but I mean, for now, at least you know,
All right.
the AMA will be very, very interesting when we do have an episode. But good luck for Saturday. I'm going to be
All
there.
right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone,
All right.
for joining.
Bye.
Cheerio. So, for my side, everyone, we're going to do our special announcements of the riddle. So, the announcing of the riddles this week, let's bring it open. So, if you've entered every week, and the good news is, by the way, we're going to do this again. So, if you didn't know about this contest, I am going to be doing it again. I might give a bit of a month break, and then we're going to do this again. So, it's 4 riddles in 4 weeks. And the way it works is that everyone gets a chance to answer out of the 4 weeks. And the person, obviously, with the most right answers and the first right answers, there's going to be a prize, which I'm going to talk about just now. So we will improve the competition as it goes to be a little more fair as well. I also might randomize it. So in other words, if there's like 20 people that have answered 4 times correctly, then I might do a random draw with those 4 people's names that got the 4 names on. I might actually do it for this one. I'm speaking out loud. But let's go to see who won on the week of 4 of the responses. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to be very careful who I give the winners to, because the answer wasn't exactly what it was. So the riddle was, I am home on all continents, but love to travel through. I am small, but I can raise my voice and always bringing good news. Who am I? And the answer was a swallow. A swallow. I'd also like to point out that these have been very good riddles, and every single one of them all was made by Tessa. So that little moderator in the chat that you speak to right now, these have all been her riddles. And I won't lie, some of them I didn't even know. They are actual very good riddles. So none of you got the word swallow this week. Someone came very close, a common starling, but none of you actually said swallow for this week. A lot of you said bird. But you let me know. Should I consider that a win? Because at the same time, it was a bird, but it was a very specific bird. So it was like, I was thinking swallow. So, you know what? If you had said swallow before I had said anything, I would have counted that as an entry, Donna. But to be honest, no one actually got the correct answer in terms of bird species. You said bird, so it's like, So I might have to count the 3 weeks of the people that got the answer right there. So what I'm going to do now, and I'll do it without the week, so there's a lot of stuff going on. Over the 3 weeks, the people who got the answers right for those 3 weeks, because no one got the answer right for the 4th week, that's the part of the riddle, guys. That's the riddle, not all the time it works. When I'm going to look at the past 3 weeks, I'm going to gather all the names of the people who got all the answers right for the past 3 weeks. So if you got the answers right the most every week, I'm going to put you into a draw, and we're going to win a competition. And now, here is the prizes that you, as the people, are going to get to choose on our Discord, and we'll decide. Prize number 1, and it's not in any order. Prize number 1 of choice is a lifetime, not a lifetime, is a year's subscription to Nitro on Discord. So if you're on Discord and you already have Nitro, it'll be an extension, or if you've never had Nitro, it'd be something new. And what that allows you to do, you're allowed to use external emojis, you're allowed to use other special features. In other words, you can go on separate channels and have a whole new profile picture for each channel and a different username for each channel. You get 100 meg uploads, and you get a bunch of other exciting features that is very nice. And you get to boost your favorite servers. You don't have to boost ours. It's nice if you do, but you don't have to. You get an option of 2 to boost. And that is something if you wish to have that for those of you that want Nitro. The other one is you'll get an undisclosed value, which we're still working on, which might be very close, a voucher for free merchandise. So if you've always wanted Taz Talks merchandise, but you've never been able to afford it, you'll get a voucher where you can just go and shop to your delight. Just purchase, purchase, purchase. And the last one, and I'd like to actually thank, I need to credit the person who actually gave this to me, is a very good, I just need to find it, folks. But basically what it will be, I think, I want to get the name right and say, it was this person, and it turns out it wasn't. Yes, okay, it was Yoli. Yoli actually sent me a link, and I feel we're going to put this in a competition. I'd like to thank you for sharing this link. I'm actually going to show it to you right now. We will be giving a ticket away to a virtual sea otter encounter with the Shed Aquarium. The nice thing about it is that you can have as many people sit in your house as well, because it's virtual. So they actually recommend up to 4 people. So you can invite your friends over, you can invite your family over, but then you can experience basically a live virtual. I hope this pops up now. Let me get rid of my face. Boom! And it's going. So there we go. A virtual, let's expand this a bit. There we go. A live virtual experience for sea otters. And we will be giving one lucky winner, if they choose that, to participate in this virtual environment. As you can see there, a group size of 4 or less viewing on the same device. So you're allowed to bring in your friends and things like that to watch. You will need Zoom. It's very easy. If you don't know what Zoom is, I will help you. I will make videos on Discord channel so that you can know how to use it. I don't mind helping you guys with all with that, because it is a Zoom link. Don't worry, Zoom is very secure now, but you'll be able to not only watch this, but it's also in our way, we will be supporting this, because obviously we want to, this money is going to go straight to the aquarium, and we want to be able to support them. So that is what we will be doing as a prize. So three things that you can choose from, and we'll be releasing or announcing them in the next couple of weeks, who the winners will be. But you have a choice now of what you want to have. Isn't this exciting? So don't worry, if you did not enter this riddle this time, you can watch next month. We will have 4 new riddles, and then you should really enter the competition. I might be posting the links on YouTube as well, so you have the opportunity to engage. And I will be doing something different. Like I said, the AMAs are going to change. We're not going to be doing them every week, specifically because also KP, the Twitch partner program. So please don't anyone think that it's her that's been like, she doesn't want to share the stream with Jason. No, it's Twitch. Twitch does not allow you to broadcast anything elsewhere at the same time with the exact same content. You have to exclusively stream it on Twitch. It's just the way it is. So I'll be doing something different on Mondays, and I will be doing something there as well that will be very interesting for you guys. I will be doing the riddles there as well. So you have to watch the videos, you have to watch the streams to know the riddle. And then you can win something. You can win. Yes, I prepare the worst riddles in those. These riddles were very good. But anyway, guys, I don't know if KP is still streaming, but we're going to drop the link. I think, yeah, Tess has already dropped it. But join us this week. Tomorrow, I don't know who's streaming. But Wednesday, we're doing Stardew Valley. Thursday, TinyTube is going to be streaming. She's just started her new job today. We can all congratulate. Friday, it's party night, quiz night, and then Saturday is our, Saturday we're postponing our stream because it's going to be the 24-hour stream, but we will also be doing our spooky stream afterwards. So there's a lot for you to join in. Thank you very much, everyone. So there's the link. Go join KP on Twitch right now. She'll probably is possibly still streaming, and I hope you guys have fun. And thank you. This has been JJ Tao. I'm sorry we're ending the AMAs, but we promise we're going to make the AMAs a lot more special for you as well. Cheerio, everyone. As always, put your noses to the screen. The screen. The screen. This has been